you'll proceed.
I'd like to call Lieutenant Unruh.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Would you mind raising your right hand for us, please?
Yes, sir.
And you would solemnly swear or affirm that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And if you would please just state your name and spell your name for the record.
Mark Unruh. It's M-A-R-K. Last name is Unruh, U-N-R-U-H.
All right. Please be seated. Thank you.
Please, the panel.
Yes, please.
How are you currently employed?
With the Lawrence, Kansas Police Department. I'm a lieutenant over our Office of Professional Accountability.
And how long have you been with the department?
A little over 20 years.
And how long have you been within professional accountability?
2 years.
Okay. And are you familiar with Brad Williams?
I am.
And how is it that you're familiar with him?
Brad Williams, I knew him when he was with the Douglas County Sheriff's Office, and then he came to work with us, I believe, in May of 2017, and where he remained with us until January of 21, I think.
At some point, were you assigned or did you open an investigation regarding Mr. Williams?
Yes.
And what was the nature of that investigation?
So I was initially contacted by then Interim Chief Anthony Brixius regarding a complaint by then, I'm just going to say Sheriff Armbruster. That would have been around late August 31st. The complaint was in reference to concerns that Officer Williams was targeting younger females during his car stops and OUI-related activities, more specifically to college-age females.
Okay. And I'm going to show you what Smart States Exhibit 6. Do you know what this document is?
Yes, this is the Lawrence, Kansas Police Department Office of Professional Accountability formal complaint of employee conduct. On this, it's from Interim Chief Brixius, and it's from Sheriff Armbruster, specific to bias-based policing, and that's against Officer Brad Williams. For that, am I allowed to read the summary on that, or do you want me to just talk generally what it says?
Yep, you can generally describe what it says.
So again, Sheriff Armbruster made unspecified comments regarding concerns with Officer Williams, and these concerns were in reference to potential targeting by Officer Williams during self-initiated activities, and that he had suspicions of this type of conduct occurring when Officer Williams was employed by the Douglas County Sheriff's Office also.
And is this a true? Is it correct that this complaint or this form is sort of what initiates a case that you would be assigned?
Yes.
Okay. And is this a true and correct copy of the complaint form you received?
Yes.
I move to admit States Exhibit 6.
No objection, now that it's been authenticated.
Okay, States Exhibit 6 will be admitted.
And once you received this complaint, what did you do next?
So if you look at that complaint, it's dated after when I was asked to begin looking into this. I'm going to point out that in late August is when I took over that position in the Office of Professional Accountability. Interim Chief Brixius at that time said, hey, I want you to be aware that this is coming down the road. Since I just got into that office, you want to give me a little bit of time to make sure that I got settled down a little bit, and that he would broach that topic with me again. It was a couple of weeks later that he came into my office, began talking to me about this complaint, and asked that I begin inquiring, kind of looking at the information to see if there's anything that would cause me to say, hey, maybe we should look at this further.
And so what's the first thing that you did?
The first thing I did is I went to our IT. I asked them to pull the information from Spillman which is the database that collects all of our information on stops, NTAs, arrests, things along those lines. I asked Jason, who is our IT, I said specifically I'm looking for citations to be able to break those down between male and female. And I also asked that he show me those numbers broken down for age groups. So ages 0 to 17, ages 18 to 25, age 26 to 31 if I remember correctly, and then 32 and above.
What was the reason that you asked for the age breakdown?
The complaint was specific to college-age females. I apologize, I really don't know what that age is, but generally speaking, I would think 18 to 25 is, would be a good average to look at.
Okay. Did you run any initial stats before you broke it down into college age, or into age groups, or did you just begin with that number?
I just began with that number. I'm not an IT guy, so I went to the professionals on that and I asked them to go ahead and pull those numbers. From those numbers, Jason provided, I believe, 1,500 citations, and he was able to break those down by age. And generally speaking, it was pretty much a 50-50 split on arrests or citations that were made.
And so what did you do after you got those numbers?
So after receiving those numbers, obviously looking at that, I didn't have a lot of concerns, but it was more specific to the OUI arrests or alcohol-related offenses. Furthermore, I think it would be, I'm going to use the word fair or more fair, to say, okay, which of these calls were self-initiated, okay, and then which of these calls were dispatched or call generated, because if we're looking at a repeated pattern of Officer Williams at that time, I don't think it's fair for us to say, well, you were dispatched to this call and you had to take enforcement action, and regardless, male or female, then we're going to go ahead and put that on you. So we began to break that down even further to show those more accurate numbers.
So you filtered out the dispatch calls sort of as a benefit to Mr. Williams to be sure that you were only looking at what he could control. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And once you did that, or how did you do that?
Well, it took some time. Pretty much what happened is taking out all the other calls, meaning like call generated or dispatched, domestic violence, batteries, criminal trespasses, any of these calls that you can think of where he was dispatched, I removed those out and slowly started to get a list of specific OUI and then specific to MIP. I think I jumped over a part there because there was a second step with this. The second step is what I'm explaining right now, is that I deciphered between the OUI and the MIPs for male and female, and I took out all the other call types. From that point, I then went through each one of those cases and read the narrative to see, okay, is this something that he self-initiated or is this something that he was dispatched to? And then I removed those. And then furthermore, there are some calls in there that, it'd be like a pedestrian check, or it'd be, an intoxicated person in the roadway. I took those out and just left it specific to going into the bars, and then just the OUIs and anything that he self-initiated. And that's how I came to my final list.
And just to be clear, when you say OUI, what are you referring to?
Operating under the influence, driving while intoxicated, things along those lines.
Okay. And on MIPs or bar checks, what are you referring to?
Minor possession of alcohol.
Okay. And once you narrowed your list down, approximately how many cases did you have that you looked at?
I'd have to look at my report if that's all right.
Any objection?
No objection.
So initially, you want me to do it when I narrow down my final
Right.
list? Okay. So for self-initiated OUI arrests, for male, we had a total of 83, and for females, we had 147. And then for MIPs, we had a total of 1 male and 84 females.
And you testified, what was the date range of what the stops that you looked at, or the encounters you looked at?
I believe it was May 17th or May 15th of 2017 until September 14th of 2020. The reason I use those numbers is because that's when he began employment with us and became active. And then September 14th being the time that I was beginning this review of information. So that's what I gathered.
Okay. And you testified that when you pulled those numbers, you had someone pull those numbers for you, is that correct? Or from Spillman?
So these numbers right here is what I pulled out of Spillman, and
Okay.
also what we call full courts. It's a database for municipal courts that gives you cases and arrests.
And once you got down to the more targeted lists of the self-initiated OUIs and MIPs, you testified that you began to pull up the case reports for each, is that correct?
Correct.
And what did that process look like?
Extensive. There's 2.5 years worth of information to begin deciphering here, and really what it entailed was if there was a narrative to the report or if there was a narrative to the NTA issued, I could read over that and again determine what was that case about. And so if it was about the MIPs and it was self-initiated, then obviously I knew that it was good. And then if it was OUIs, looking at those cases, if it was self-initiated, then I knew that was good adding that to it.
As you looked through all of those reports, did you notice any patterns?
Yes. Slowly from, there at the beginning, we start off with a pretty much 50-50 split amongst everything. Slowly that started to lean towards more female NTAs or arrests compared to male NTAs or arrests. And then as you started to break those numbers down even further with the age ranges, it started to become clearer, in my opinion, as to what we were looking at. More specifically, using the 2018 FBI data on OUI arrests, it says nationally the average is 74%. It might be 74.5%. And then that's for male arrests compared to 24% female arrests. And then when I began looking at those numbers compared to Officer Williams' numbers, I could see that it was almost inverted. It's almost the opposite, which began to cause concern for me. I couldn't find any data in regards to the MIPs with any kind of national database. But again, looking at those numbers, 84 to 1, I think that is pretty remarkable. And again, it did cause concern for me. So at that time, when I got those numbers, is when I contacted Captain Squire, who's since retired, and I informed him of what I found. And then at that time is when we opened an investigation into this complaint.
And when you were reading the individual reports for your narrowed list, was there anything that did you make any observations about sort of the pattern of how Mr. Williams would have contact with people that were not driving?
I don't know if I can say that there was, like a strong pattern. But I did note that there were things that did cause me concern. just being in law enforcement and being out there actively on the streets and, working those cases, I guess, 10 years ago. Some that come to mind were OUIs for people that were stopped in a parked vehicle when the vehicle was running. They're legally parked and, contact was made, and then an OUI investigation would take place at that time. I know in my experience, I can only talk to me or about myself, is that I've never had that. I know that there was contact made on a couple occasions. One where Officer Williams observed a couple walking down the sidewalk, college age, male and female, and I believe that they were horseplaying, goofing around, but he wanted to make sure that everybody was okay. After bar closed, I want to go over there and make sure everybody's okay. By the end of that contact, that female had been issued a citation for fake DL. And then there's another one where there was an intoxicated female outside of, I believe it was Bullwinkle's, and upon contact with her, checking on her, trying to, if I remember correctly, trying to get her a ride home, unsuccessful. And then while continuing to deal with her, smelling alcohol in her breath, asking for DL, and then of course finding a fake DL on her and issuing her citation for that. I think that those types of patterns were found throughout this investigation, and those patterns have caused me some concern.
Why did they cause you concern?
Well, for me, the point of law enforcement isn't to go out and see how many tickets we can give everybody. We're there to help. I'm not saying that Officer Williams wasn't there to help. I think the first intentions or what he presented was that he was there to make sure people were okay. But then from that point, they are okay, to then issuing those citations, I think that's extreme in my opinion.
And regarding the numbers that you pulled and again narrowed down, did you filter out any stops where other agencies were involved, like ABC or anything like that?
So specific to the MIPs, oftentimes we have ABC that comes in with their agents and we'll run bar checks, fake DLs, minors in possession. And during those times, it's not uncommon for an agent or for another agency to be with us, KU, DGS, or whoever it might be, that they're out there with us, and they might grab a hold of, a group of individuals. And they say, look, I saw them drinking, I have, the alcohol right here, I need to go ahead and issue the citation, and then, put my name down for that. Or put it noted on the NTA that I was the one that saw it, but you're just the one that's issuing that citation. And so there were a couple of handfuls of those types of cases that I was able to locate and remove those from the list.
Okay. And again, you're doing that by reading the offense reports and seeing what happened and then taking those out.
Correct.
Okay. And so I believe you testified to, once you got your narrowed list, what were Mr. Williams' numbers as far as the OUI citations?
Specific to his citations, on self-initiated OUI arrests overall, 83 were male and 147 were female. Out of that list, specific to the 18 to 25 or younger college-aged female, it was 91. If you compare that to the younger college-aged male, it was 42. And the other thing that I kind of found, remarkable about that was the 91, which is more than the total male population that he had arrested during that time.
I'm sorry, say that again.
The 91 females that he had arrested for OUI between the ages of 18 to 25 is larger than the total male population that he had arrested over that same period of time.
Okay.
Not just the 18 to 25.
And I'm going to go ahead and show you what's marked as State's Exhibit 7. Let me- Do you recognize this document?
Yes.
What is it?
This is our official investigation report called our OPA report. It's just where I go in and I take all the information that I've obtained and then put it into report format.
And is this a true and accurate copy of your report for this investigation?
Yes.
I would move to admit Statement 7.
No objection, now that it's been authenticated.
Okay, State's Exhibit number 7 will be admitted.
And so you were testifying specifically about the self-initiated OUI arrest. And what did the numbers or statistics reveal regarding the MIP bar checks?
For that, again, there's no need to break it down to age groups because it's only for under 21. But for males, there was 1, and for females, there was 84.
Okay, and do you believe that those numbers are accurate based on the siphoning that you did?
Yes.
Okay. Once you pulled those numbers, did you feel that it was necessary to compare those to the rest of the agency?
I did.
And how did you do that?
So I went out and spoke with some supervisors asking, who are your top go-getters, when it comes to OUIs, who are your top go-getters when it comes to MIPs, fake DLs, things along those lines. And 3 names continued to come up for the OUIs, which was Officer Palin, Officer Richardson, and Officer Donkus. For MIPs, I got a wide variety on that, but Officer Palin and Officer Richardson's names came up during that time, so I continued to use them. And then I just kept Officer Donkus in there also because that's who I was also comparing against for the OUIs.
And why did you think it was important to find out who were sort of the top officers that made his arrests or citations?
I think it gives a bigger picture, people that are more prone to conduct enforcement actions like what we're looking at. So I wanted to, gather as much information that I could specific to these types of calls. Because I don't think it'd be fair to go out and try to find someone that, has 1 arrest or that has 2 arrests, compared to hundreds of arrests between the OUIs and the MIPs that Officer Williams had.
Would you agree that Officer Williams was aggressive as far as writing these types of tickets?
He was very proactive, very active.
Okay. Once you gathered the names of officers that were active, what did you do?
So I began doing the same thing that I'd done for Officer Williams' information. Went into Spillman, went into full court, started pulling their cases over that same time frame, and started breaking down, just the OUIs and the MIPs, and then also looking at those narratives to determine, were these self-initiated or were these dispatched calls.
And regarding Officer Richardson, what did you find?
So for Officer Richardson on self-initiated OUI arrest, I was able to determine for males there was 27, and for females there was 13. Specific to the college age 18 to 25, it was 10 males and 7 females. And then for MIPs, 5 males and 13 females.
Regarding Officer Palin, what did you find?
Specific to OUI arrest, males 26, females 5, and specific to the age range of 18 to 25 years of age, 11 males and 1 female.
And so certainly none of these officers were writing as many as Officer Williams, correct?
Correct.
But these were the best that you could find as a sort of comparison.
Yes.
Okay. Regarding Officer Don, what did you find?
For self-initiated OUI arrest, male was 16, female was 4, and specific to 18 to 25 years of age, 3 males and 2 females.
Okay, and for MIPs?
I'm sorry, 1 male and no females.
Okay. And then at some point, did you determine that you needed to look at the agency numbers as a whole?
Yes.
And how did you do that?
This one wasn't quite as exhaustive because I can't go through all of that information. I mean, that's a lot. So for the specific to OUIs, but for the MIPs, the department, there was 48 males issued citations and 143 females, compared to Officer Williams, 1 male, 84 females. And then if you were to take out Officer Williams' numbers, you would have 47 males issued citations for MIP, and you'd have 59 females issued citations for MIPs.
And so on the department, you do have it listed as self-initiated, so you were able to siphon out assisting agencies, is that correct?
For MIPs, yes.
Okay. But then on the OUIs, it would be too exhaustive to go through every report, is that correct?
Right.
So the OUI numbers are for just the agency as a whole, what they wrote?
Correct.
Okay, and what did those reveal?
For the department, overall, you had 811 males to 429 females, which breaks down to 65% male, 35% female. With Officer Williams, you had 102 males and 164 females, which is a 38% male, 62% female. And then the department without Officer Williams' numbers was 709 males compared to 265 females, which is 73% male, 27% female, which is more in line with the KBI national average.
When you were first assigned this investigation, or even just assigned a complaint, did you have any preconceived notions or impressions about how this would turn out?